Welcome back, everybody. HolliwoodKole here for another HnK video game experience. We're glad you could join us. Here with me today, as always, is our other host, Kleerfyre. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man.
Your idea, man. We're going to do another E3 post-game. So we gave you a good pre-game there, what we thought was going to happen. And now that it is all done, we've got some surprises and some not-so-surprises. Not so surprising things. And so some things I'm excited about and other things I'm a little disappointed, of course, as many of you are. And so we're going to kind of touch on a few of those things here. Kleerfyre is always our expert when it comes to the news and when it comes to stuff like this. So, man, go ahead and take it, dude.
Well, first I'm going to start off with one of my very, very sad points. And the thing that I think that really shot E3 in the foot for a developer was the fact that Square Enix mentioned absolutely nothing of the Final Fantasy VII remake. That's the first thing I want to start off with, because we're all big Final Fantasy fans. We all love Final Fantasy VII, and not a single peep mentioned nothing. It's very sad, and I really think that was a bad step for Square not to even mention it, not to even saying, hey, we're working on it, just something to say, hey, it's still in the background or whatever. Because now at this point, I've basically said, you know what, don't really care if you do it or not, and I'm not even worried about it anymore. It's behind me, and, it was a great pipe dream, but it looks like you can't get your act together, and you can't even say, hey, we're at least working on it, so... Of course, they're saying that, you got Gamescom that's coming up in July. They're like, oh, well, we're going to mention something there. I'm like, okay, so you decide to choose the second biggest gaming convention that we have to mention it, not the biggest gaming convention. So that has made me very kind of sour on Square Enix right now. I'm not a big fan of theirs right now because of that. Like I said, it's a series that everybody loves. Everybody loved Final Fantasy VII. It was a fantastic game, well-made game, and they can't even get their act together to say, hey, we're working on the remake still.
Yeah, so what do you think that means? You think they're not, we've heard nothing but bad news since this thing has been announced, 2015 maybe? Or before that? Oh, it's 2015. And so, yeah, I mean, what does that mean? They didn't even say, like you're talking about, they didn't even go up there and say, well, hey guys, Final Fantasy VII is still in, I don't know if they would ever do that, but Square Enix knows everybody is waiting for this.
Yeah. And
I wasn't even happy with any of their other games, not to jump too far ahead, and I won't get into it.
No, I'm fine with that. That's probably about all I'm going to mention of Square Enix, because they've made me so mad, because there's nothing else out there from them that I really care about, so.
Yeah, and so I hope this is, well, they got the Octopath Traveler coming, and that's the only thing that's keeping them on my radar now that this Final Fantasy VII thing is kind of going under the, to the wayside, which is you're exactly right. If you don't mention it at the best gaming convention there is, and there's some speculation that that's what they're doing, exactly what you're saying. Hey, we're going to set you up. We're going to kind of ease into this one. You think we're gone, and then we're going to hit you with this big bombshell of, look at all this cool stuff we're doing. And it's like, why would you do that at E3? That makes no sense.
Yeah, you've lost a lot of fans. You've lost a lot of people's attention because they were sitting there hanging, waiting for something. You could have flashed in your E3 presser, in your trailer that you did for E3, you could have flashed Sephiroth's face there, and everybody would have gone berserk. Just something simple like that. And that would have been enough to appease the critics, enough to appease the people, and you couldn't even do that. I mean, one of my favorite shots of Sephiroth is when he's in the flames and he just has that turn back, he's holding the sword. You could have done that, and you would have had everybody lit up, excited, pumped up. They're like, oh my gosh, they're actually working on it. They didn't even do that. So it was just really sad that, you had a chance just to flash something. You could have taken 1 second, one image, and that's all you needed to do, and you couldn't even do that. So to me that sounds like that with all of the turnover and the turmoil that they had, they're pretty much saying, hey, we're starting from square one all over again. So I feel like they might be scrapping everything they've done and going back to the beginning. Because, I mean, why not even show just a little something? If you've got this little bitty 5-minute little trailer thing that we've seen before, and you don't have anything else other than that, I mean, you could have even replayed parts of that. I mean, just nothing. So it's a big letdown.
So what do you think? They definitely should have just waited till they had something bigger before they even released some type of reveal in 2015?
I think so.
Perhaps they thought they were going to come along a lot faster, and they just had some hiccups. And so I don't know. Maybe that's a lesson for them. And they're like, hey, we're not going to talk about anything until it's further along.
I think they bit off more than they could chew in it, and they weren't able to develop it as quickly as they wanted to, and I think they're trying to push it too far into next gen. I just feel like they're trying to push the graphics too far, push the limits too far. You don't have to push it too far. It's already a great story. Why? It's like the whole thing. The wheel is a great invention. Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. And so they have a
fantastic game. Why reinvent it?
So instead of Final Fantasy VII, they reveal a couple of games. One, Captain Spirit or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, what did you think about that game?
I just kind of shook my head at everything that they did. Like, I'm sitting here, I didn't watch their presser. I just read about their presser, and when I hit the part of Final Fantasy VII wasn't even there after plenty of rumors. I was just kind of like, really. And it just kind of shook my head at all of what they had to show. I mean, nothing just really piqued my interest there much with Square Enix.
Life is Strange, and I haven't played that yet. I mean, it came out for free on the PlayStation, PSN at one point, and it's supposed to be pretty. I mean, I hear a lot of good things about it, and it's just kind of like you're going through life and you're making choices or whatever. So I really can't speak about it because I've never even turned it on. But
yeah.
This is Captain Spirit or something like the world of Captain Spirit. And I may be saying it, I don't know if it's Spirit, but it's based in this universe. And it's like a kid playing make-believe, and that's the game. And even the trailer was just so kind of sappy. Like, I mean, what is this? This is what you've been dedicating your time to?
Yeah.
Is Captain Spirit? I mean, come on, man. I mean, it was just terrible. And they had another game. I don't even remember what it was. So that's how much it stuck with me. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if it wasn't Final Fantasy VII, they don't care unless it's Octopath Traveler, which I don't think they did any of that. It's already announced and everything.
Yeah, didn't even. I mean, my thing is you didn't do any Final Fantasy VII. You didn't talk about any new additions to Final Fantasy 15. Nothing. I mean, just nothing Final Fantasy. Square is Final Fantasy. And they didn't throw out anything big for any of that. So it was just really sad, especially with how big Final Fantasy VII's been on everybody's radar for 3 years now. 3 different E3s it's been on people's radar, and no really big mention. It's a huge misstep by Square, and I really feel bad for them because, I mean, they're losing me slowly. And if they continue doing this, they're going to lose a lot more than just, a couple people like us. They're going to lose a lot more. So no Final Fantasy VII. So that was a disappointment for everybody. But I'll tell you what I was impressed with, man. And I'm trying to keep up with what all that was released as it was released. But I think that I was very impressed with Xbox. Even though there was not a lot of gameplay per se, where actually somebody playing, but a lot of new games announced. A lot of new publishers and stuff that they've bought out, or developers, and all the different things that they're doing. It just really says, man, they're not going quietly into the night. They're not giving up. They're coming on hard. And then Sony kind of comes out and you go, it's kind of like, what are you doing, Sony? After Xbox just says, dude, we're here.
and we're going to make this thing happen. Just with all the stuff that they're buying out. I mean, of course, they got pretty much an unlimited bankroll, with Bill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they can do whatever they want.
So I love that you liked that. I'm going to say one ratio, and this is the one ratio that you should always remember: 2-1.
Okay.
2-1. PlayStations to Xboxes, 2-1.
Oh, I know.
They're still dominating sales against Xbox. In my opinion, Xbox can bring all they want right now. Until they drop a new hardware, they're going to be second place, which actually they're falling to third place in this console wars, because they're falling not only behind PlayStation, but they're falling behind Nintendo. I think it's a little too late for them. Yes, they had some great looking stuff. The Gears of War looked awesome. I mean, they had some great looking exclusives that came through. But if they would have came through last year or the year before, we're looking at a whole different ball game on how the console wars play out. That's the whole big problem with Xbox, is they're waiting until late in the life cycle of the systems to release awesome. And I'm not knocking them there. They got some awesome exclusives. Why wait so late in the cycle to drop a new Halo? Why wait it was so late in the life cycle to drop a new Gears of War 5? I mean, why wait so late in the cycle to do that? You're not going to save face, not this far back, especially after all the damage you did when you first originally released the Xbox One. So, I mean, yeah, it's great for them. Yay, hooray. They did a great E3. They had great showing at E3. It's about 2 E3s too late.
Well, therein lies my point. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. And so they are 2-1 back, and everybody's just kind of like, what are they going to do? And I almost made a joke, like they're going to come out and say, hey, we're only going to make video games from now on, or we're getting out of the console market or something. But they did not do that at all. They came out and arguably had the best showing of everybody, whether it's going to be. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like, even though they're down and out, everybody thinks they're down and out. They're like, well, we're not just going to go out as easily as you think. We're still here to hit this thing hard. And so they did the best they could with E3. They can't really just dwell on the past of, oh, I wish we would have done this, wish we would have done that. Only what can we do now, And so.
Oh, I agree.
And so if it's too little too late, yeah, it may be. But at least they're showing that they are dedicated to their products. And so when they release another one, it's been like that. PlayStation 2 dominated the Xbox. Then Xbox 360 dominated the PS3. Now PS4 is dominating Xbox One. Who knows, maybe next time it flips. But if Xbox is showing and Microsoft is showing that, hey, when we do a video game console, we're all in on this thing, for better or for worse, that can win some points with fans.
Well, I think the one thing that boosted them the best at E3, because one of our things is we're saying that nobody's going to make any announcements about hardware or anything, and what does Xbox go and do? We're going to make a new Xbox. They say it. They announce it at E3. We are going to make a new Xbox.
The Xbox One X.
So, well, no, they're probably going to make it the Xbox One Z or something like that.
Oh,
no,
gosh.
Who knows? There's rumors that it's going to be called the Xbox 2. Things like that. Who knows what it's going to be called?
So this is their next gen one.
This is their next gen one. They said that they're. I don't remember if they said that they're going to drop it in 2020, but that's kind of the idea that it would come in 2020. But they said that they are working on it. They're the only ones that announced that they're working on a next gen console. So that gives them a leg up. That gives the fans hope, because for the longest, everybody was like, oh, well, Xbox is fixing to get out of the console market because they bit it bad on this one. Yeah. And so, back to your point of that they are actually, pushing for the future and actually still building, it shows it by their statement of saying, hey, we're making a new Xbox. I mean, to go back to, I hate to beat on a dead horse about Square Enix, but they could have even said that about Final Fantasy VII, and it would have saved their E3 for them. Yeah, just that statement alone from Microsoft saying that we're making a new Xbox has really, really piqued my interest, because I was like, okay, let me see what you got, what your ideas are, because I mean, that's the next step is, everybody's starting to look for that next console because it's coming to end of life cycle for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, even though that they have released a One X and a PlayStation 4 Pro recently. So, I really kind of look forward to seeing what Microsoft has to offer and throw up. Granted, I am a PlayStation player right now. I've pretty much been with PlayStation more often than Xbox, so I'll probably end up sticking with PlayStation through it. But who knows? I might end up snatching one up if it's if it's a good system, and it does what I need it to do, aka play video games. I mean, that's why I buy a system to play video games. I don't buy it to be my media center. A piece of my media console where it's the centerpiece of my media console. I don't buy it for that. I buy it so I can play video games. If it does some other things on the side, great, whatever. But I hardly ever use my PlayStation 4 for streaming, like movies or whatever, through Netflix or whatever. I use it for ESPN just because I can't get that on my TV. But other than that, I don't use it for anything other than little minutia things like that. I use it for gaming. So I hope Xbox learned their lesson and they're actually going to put out a gaming console. But they did say that they want to basically bridge the gap between PC power and console power and make the new Xbox relative to what PC power can, what a PC's power can do. So
they already doing cross-platform between PC and Xbox?
Yeah, there's PC and Xbox. There's even PC, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch crossplay.
Yeah, but Sony is stiff-arming it.
Yeah. Sony is stiff arming it. Sony's being pretty rough about that. They don't want to crossplay with anything, which, I mean, I understand. They are quote unquote the king right now. So, I mean, when you're the king, you can pretty much say what you want, and people are just going to follow blindly and just do whatever. So, with them having that power, it's kind of bad for gamers with Sony not wanting to cross-platform, because something I'll mention later, it's greatly affected that. So, you're cross-platform, I really think needs to happen. It's a great thing, and then anybody can decide, and then the people can decide on what system they play on. Still have your exclusives for your systems, that's fine, but the ones that cross systems, that you shouldn't have any reason to block those. You should let those cross over. I mean, come on, Minecraft. It's a game that's $20, maybe less. You can probably get it cheaper than that at times. Why not let people play it across all platforms? Just let them do it. It's just it's a no-brainer to do that. It's a no-brainer to do that, and Sony's kind of taken a stiff stance against cross-platform play. But I think with the new generation, they're gonna have to relook at their stance on that, and maybe even start opening that up to games that are not console specific, because you're not losing any money to those games. If somebody has an Xbox and a PlayStation 4, they're going to buy it on whatever console they want it on, or whichever one their buddies are playing it on. But if you have, like, for us, I know we have buddies that are all on Xbox One, and they're playing games, and we're on PlayStation 4, but, a game like Destiny, if you opened it up to crossplay, you're going to actually sell more games and more consoles by doing that. But I don't think Sony thinks that way. I think that they would lose their position if they did that. So it's just a frustrating position.
If they're dominating the market, I mean, it's if you're holding the keys to the most players, you're kind of like, well, I want to hold on to that. I kind of lose my edge if I just say, hey, cross-platform, and then somebody goes, my buddies are playing, name it. What's the
Destiny 2?
Well, something that's just, I'm trying to think of some PlayStation exclusive, but whatever.
A PlayStation exclusive? Okay. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Well, that's not an online game. It doesn't matter. Hey, my buddies are playing Black Ops 3. They all got PlayStation 4s. Okay, so I want to play with them, but I kind of like Halo. Oh, guess what? I can buy an Xbox One and play with Black Ops 3 and play with them, and I'll still get Halo. So, it's kind of lost. That kind of puts them over the edge, people over the edge, to say, well, I need to get a PlayStation. That's what all my bros are playing. And so since they got an edge on the market, that's what they're trying to do. But, it's one of those weird things. It kind of sucks for gamers. I think gaming overall as a whole, yes, that sucks for it. But as a business, not a bad decision, I don't guess.
It's not a bad or a good decision. It's a neutral position for the fact that they're like, we're trying to save our revenue and keep our revenue high. So that way they can bring out more exclusives, so they can do more things like that. I understand why they do it. I just wish they would look at it from the aspect of, if you open it up, you actually might make a little more money in it, because then you have those people that are playing the Xboxes and everything, and you actually could bridge some of them a little bit. I mean, it's one of those things where it could go either way, and I wish they would do a little more cross-platform play.
I understand something about Minecraft and all that. I mean, that's not really gonna.
Yeah, I mean,
don't know.
I think like that, and
if most people have a PlayStation 4, they're gonna want to keep. I mean, it's just kind of what I already said. I kind of agree with that decision if I was a businessman, but
well, let's take what I was referencing to earlier. So Nintendo Switch got Fortnite released to it during E3. Big game, it's one of the most popular games right now out, free to play. And if you have logged on to your Fortnite account on a PS4, you cannot log on to your Fortnite account on your Nintendo Switch. They locked it out.
I don't like that.
That's bad. And that's the controversy of the cross-platform play, is because you spend money on the game Fortnite. None of it goes to PlayStation. None of it goes to anything like that. It's all going to Fortnite. Fortnite's funneling getting all the money. They're getting all that money from all the in-game buys. Now you're telling people, oh, you've spent all this money, but if you play on PlayStation 4 and you try to play it on your Switch, you got to start all over, because you get, you're building up your character to be able to be a better character in Fortnite by buying your extra things or winning your games and all that. I'm not sure exactly, because I don't play Fortnite. I might start playing it since I've got a Switch, but if you have a Switch and you have an Xbox, your account can cross over. If you have a Switch and you play Fortnite on PC, your account can switch over. So you've got that happening over there, and Sony's over here by themselves. It's gonna hurt their business, especially for a small game like that doesn't affect Sony, that doesn't really generate any revenue for Sony.
Yeah, I mean, it's still. I mean, if I got playing Fortnite on the PlayStation, that's gonna be fun. I kind of want to get a Switch. Only game I play on PlayStation is Fortnite, let's just say, because my buddy's got it. And so I kind of want to get a Switch, but, only game I'm playing is Fortnite. But, if it's crossed over, you could just jump on that. So you end up buying a Switch, and now you're buying games for that, and Sony's losing out. So, but, I mean, yeah, it's one of those weird things. I agree. Like, Fortnite people should be like, hey, you should let me do that, because it's all for me anyway. It's my business. I don't know. I see it both ways.
It's a double-edged sword on that. I mean, I do too. Like, I understand why Sony's doing it. It's because they could potentially lose money. The other side to that is, if they open it up, they could potentially gain more money, because they could gain more players. You think about it. You're sitting there when you're playing with your buddies. You're always talking about other things you play. I'm sitting here playing with if I was on my PlayStation 4 playing with some game cross-platform with an Xbox One person, I start telling them about Horizon Zero Dawn, it might pique their interest, and they might be like, hey, that's one more reason for me to get a PlayStation 4. Oh, well, let's look at these other games that are exclusive to PS4, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on exclusives to PS4, but, I mean, you've got so many of them that you could eventually sway somebody to probably buy a PlayStation 4. I mean, it could very well happen that way. So... right. But it's, like I said, double-edged sword. So
one cool thing that I liked about E3 is the Cyberpunk 2077. That seems to be a winner from everybody's perspective. There, the CD Projekt Red, who did the Witcher 3, it's a great game, and man, if it comes out like anything like Witcher 3 with the Shadowrun twist, which is what it's looking like, great story, cool universe. And you even got some people got to play it and talk about it, and kind of got to read those reviews or whatever. But man, it just looks pretty cool. I think
it does look cool. Trailer? I didn't dive deep into that one, because I figured once you sent me a message about it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on some other things to make sure we cover more. But what little I did see about it, it looks a very interesting game, and I probably will jump on that one. It looks like it could be a fun game, kind of a more futuristic type Grand Theft Auto, if you have it. Not that same style, but kind of like that. So I look forward to seeing more of what that game has out there. So
it looked, yeah, me too. I mean, it looks kind of a lot more story driven than what maybe The Witcher 3 is and everything, to where kind of your decisions will affect the story. The Witcher 3 is kind of focused on how, I mean, it's open world. It's kind of, you know, how you want to deck your character out and what you want to specialize in, magic, or I'm actually just trying to remember this for the first time in a long time for Witcher 3. But you can kind of fine tune your character however you want to play it. And so I'm sure it's the same way with Cyberpunk. I think there was a skill tree, but it did focus more on story. And I think they even kind of mentioned that. But I just love those worlds, man. It's just a Shadowrun world, which we'll talk about in a minute. But, you know, really, really cool game. I think it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to that one. I'm going to probably get that one at release.
Yeah. So something that I'm really hyped about that I want to bring up is, one, how well I feel like Nintendo had a showing there. Now, granted, their presser, more than half of it was dedicated to Super Smash Bros., which everybody knew that.
Yeah.
Everybody's expecting that. But man, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate looks very nice, very clean, some really cool new features on it. Basically, every character from all the previous Smash Brothers are going to be there. You know, online play, it's looking like a ultimate fun game to play, and it's called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So, and it's
65 over 65 characters, over 75 stages, and you know me. We talk about it all the time. You've always loved Smash Bros. and you're not alone in that. Everybody loves it. But me, I wasn't really into it that much, and I've played it on the N64, and I'm kind of like, okay, I feel like I'm just butt mashing here. But this one has got me interested. You know, I'll probably check this one out and try to actually learn something about it, moves or whatever.
From what I've read about it, it looks like it's going to be more skill-based. You're going to actually have to know the combos and things like that to do. One of the new features that I like about it is it'll actually zoom on the board. So basically it makes it harder for you to save yourself once you're knocked off the map. Because, you know, the whole premise of the game is knock your opponent off the map. And, you know, if you had Link back in the day, he had the jump that you could float back. You had Kirby, you could float. I mean, you had all these characters that could get their way back. Pretty much every character, if you're good enough with them, you could get your way back on the map. Well, what happens is with that board being shrunk down, it's not like they're shrinking the entire board, they're just shrinking what you see. It makes it harder for you to know where you're jumping at the time your jumps, and so it gives it a challenge level. So I kind of like that idea, and just, I mean, it looks so good. You know, you've got the Splatoon Inklings coming in. I forget the other new ones that are coming in for it too, but I mean, you've just got so many characters to play with. And you know there's going to be some secrets in there. There always is. There's always something fun with Super Smash Brothers, and it's going to be a blast. I really look forward to playing that. And another one that Nintendo showed.
Well, hold on. Smash Bros. I was going to ask you about this real quick, because Smash Bros. So this explained to me how this works. So I've played it on the N64. That's the only one I've played. And so I know you got to knock them off the board. So when you're beating on them, your life bar takes a percentage. So you're hitting on them, and then you get to 100. Can you knock them off, or do you have to wait till they get to 100? I know you can push them off and just fall off.
You can if you're good enough, you can smack somebody off in the first few seconds of a match.
So let me explain. Let me explain to the people in case they've never played it from my perspective. So it looked like you're hitting each other, and you get a percentage. So you start at 0. So it's not like you got 100%. And you start getting it knocked away. You start at 0, and somebody's beating on you, and it goes up to 50%, 75. Then 100, and then like 150 or something. And when you get real high, you're a lot easier to knock off the stage. And so that's what it just seemed to me. That's what I was trying to do, is not get somebody's percentage super high and then knock them off the stage. But you're saying that's irrelevant. You can still knock them off whenever.
It's not irrelevant. It makes it easier to knock somebody off. But if you're really good and you know some of your power moves and you can pull a power move quickly, you can knock somebody off quick in a stage. It just all depends on your skill, the other person's skill, and who they are. I mean, characters play a huge part in your strategies. Because I remember playing, I was like, I'll play with Kirby. And man, Kirby can be a tough one. But also, if you got somebody that's really good with Kirby, the Kirby's hard to fight. I mean, it's just one of those things where depending on who you are, who you play with, it could be either a challenge for you or a challenge for the other person. Yes, now, the whole thing is you don't really have a health bar. You have a percentage meter that says basically, okay, it's a lot easier, that basically defines how much easier it is for you to be knocked off the stage. And, the higher your meter goes up, the easier it is. And, I've had some matches that lasted, no time at all. I mean, I can take, one of my favorite characters is Yoshi. I love taking Yoshi and jumping him off the stage when somebody else is coming, and then eating them and then pooping them out his neck. Because then they'll fall straight down and they're done. That's all you have to do is not with Yoshi. All you have to do is knock somebody off, then jump over there because he has a great float jump. Eat them in midair, poop them out, and then jump back over. And you could just start dropping people like that. I mean, I did that so many times on people, and they hated it because it's like you got to time it just perfect. But if you do it, I mean, it's just. It frustrates them, and it's such a great. And Yoshi's an example of a character that is very easy to knock somebody off very early because at any time you can knock somebody off the stage. Can you knock them far enough to where they can't jump back on? Maybe not. Because once they hit that 150% range, all of a sudden if you hit them a certain way, they go flying off the stage and they're not coming back. There's no recovery to it. So it's just all depends on how you want to play the game. If you want to play the game as a strategy and build up, make sure that they get that percentage, and then knock them off, there's a good chance that you might get knocked off before then. But if you're good enough, you can avoid. So,
and I'm not gonna. Just wanted to mention this one too, real quick. I know you're about to mention another NES or a Nintendo game, an NES game, but Metroid Prime 4. Everybody's kind of like, oh, is it going to come out? Are they going to do a teaser? Are we going to know what it's about or whatever? It was never mentioned, or it may have been. It wasn't shown, but I think it was mentioned, and it was just Reggie just essentially said that, hey, it's coming along great. Everything's going like we want it to. We're just not far along enough to show it. Nintendo's always kind of been like this, to where if they show you a game, they want it to be within 9 months of release or so.
Oh yeah.
So that's what they should have done. Square Enix should have done with Final Fantasy.
Yes.
So that's what I just wanted to mention. But yeah, I'm excited about. I'm sure Metroid Prime 4 is going to be golden.
It's going to be
good on them for not showing it. That's fine. Everybody's cool with it. Obviously, we would like to see it, but I mean, there's so much good stuff. And I mean, again, if you've heard my switch on Smooth Ramblings, I'm all about it. I'm looking forward to getting one, and I'm looking forward to playing Smash Bros. Now, just the way that you explained it.
I'm looking forward to shooting you off a board. That's my.
And then to catch me.
Gonna have fun. I'm gonna Yoshi you off a board one time. I'm gonna give you the Yoshi experience. But that aside, I'm kind of excited. I've never played one of the games. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I love anime. It's Fire Emblem Three Houses. It looks like it's going to be a really cool game. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And I love strategy games. I've been playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Did I say that right?
Yep.
I always say it wrong for some reason. But I've been having a lot of fun with that one. I love going into the little shrines and doing the puzzles in there, having to use your special powers in the Legend of Zelda one to get through the shrines and trying to figure that out. And I can't wait to have that kind of strategy stuff with Fire Emblem, because it looks like it's going to have a lot of fun to it and a lot of things like that. So, like I said, I don't know a lot about Fire Emblem, so there's not much I can talk about it other than I'm really excited to see that game and to see another one of the Nintendo's franchises coming to light and actually taking off and being a bigger prominence, other than having to take a backseat to Sony and Xbox like they have lately.
Well, I can tell you, I've played the Shining Force 2. And you've heard me say this a bunch of times if you've listened to the podcast at all, but a testament to an old school game to me is if I can turn it on now and enjoy it, even when I didn't play when I was younger. So that's no nostalgia factor at all, other than, okay, it's a 16-bit game. But Shining Force 2 on the Xbox 360 Sega collection had me hooked. And it's the same type of thing. So I'm excited about the Fire Emblem, and I'm definitely going to get that for the Switch as well. So those type of games are super addicting. Final Fantasy Tactics is like the first one I played, and I really enjoyed that one. And then, then I didn't realize it was a Shining Force 2. And sometimes it's better on a Sega or so, because it's a lot more simple. It's a lot simpler, So
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot I gotta mess up, before I learn. You kind of just learn as you go, and there's something to be said for that. What else you got for Nintendo?
That's about it for Nintendo. Those are really the only two main things that really just hyped me up. They got some other good stuff. I mean, give Nintendo credit. They're really pushing the Nintendo Switch. I love the idea that they have for their Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. When you buy if you buy it, like they've got a set where you can buy it where it comes with the Pokeball controller. They mentioned that at E3. It's going to have the quote-unquote quasi-cross-play with Pokemon Go. So if you're a Pokemon Go player on your phone, you've got a little bit of cross-play there. So it looks like some interesting things they're going to do with the Pokemon franchise, which that's one of their bigger franchises. Extremely popular. It sells millions of games every time it comes out. I'm actually probably going to get one of those copies, and basically it's, in essence, a remaster of Pokemon Yellow, if I'm not mistaken. I think I said that. And so I kind of look forward to playing that just to check it out. And it's cool because you'll be able to play two players, so I would be able to play with my son. He'd be able to pick up a controller and, basically control it, because it's basically all you can do on the game is move your character around and throw a Pokeball. I mean, and no random encounters now, too, on it, too. They're going to have, basically, the Pokemon will be out in the wild. You'll see them, and you just go up to them and to catch them or whatever. Of course, you'll have to go through the quote-unquote battle to catch them by throwing Pokeballs at them until you can catch them and all that. But it seems like it'll be a fun little, it's kind of, to me, it's one of those little escape games, just one of those games to get away from all your other gaming, too. So
let's talk about EA real quick.
Yeah.
Anthem. So let me just mention what I pulled away from this, and how staunch I am about.
How do you feel about Anthem? I want to know your feelings on this.
So Anthem, of course, it looks good. It looks cool, but EA, it looks like you were hit the nail on the head when you said, "Hey, they can use this as a chance to clean up their image," and they went out and announced no microtransactions for Anthem. So that right there is a win. So far, so good. Somebody posted on Twitter, best things about E3, that I liked, Cyberpunk 2077 and some Octopath Traveler, all the games I like, and said Anthem. And I said, great job, except for Anthem. I said, I like your style minus Anthem or something like that. And they're like, oh, you're not excited about Anthem? And then I just said, well, EA can... If they start introducing microtransactions and all this is before they said we're not releasing it with microtransactions. And then they were even like, if they it's like some girl, she said, if they try to microtransaction me out, they can microtransaction my fist or something like that. It's just kind of funny, but so everybody, even though they're excited about it, it's not cool with microtransactions. So the fact that they got rid of them is a step in the right direction, a big step.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about Anthem. If you know me, I love Destiny. I really hate the direction that Destiny 2 has taken. I'll talk about Destiny 2 more in some fireside chats when I get a chance to sit down and record those.
This will be episode 3 since we've heard about fireside chats.
Yeah, I apologize for that, guys. I've had some life crap come up, and I've been having to take care of that. But I'll keep on talking about it forever until I finally put one out. It's gonna be a joke of how many episodes can I mention Fireside Chat until we actually drop one.
Yeah, what episode? Here's the contest. What episode did Kleer first mention Fireside Chats? It's October 2017.
I might have to do that and do a contest. I might do a contest for that. So, what I want to say about Anthem is it looks like it is. I can't call it a Destiny killer because they don't have PvP in it, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, they don't have PvP. What's wrong with them?" Well, a lot of games don't have PvP, and not every game needs to have PvP to make it a game. It's got PvE. And I think that's awesome. The whole concept of playing with your buddies. I mean, Borderlands. Yes, it has a minor PvP component in it when you can challenge your buddy or whatever. And that's just more of a joke thing than anything. But there's no real battle for PvP in Borderlands. It's all PvE. And it's a fantastic game. You've got a lot of games that are like that. In comes Anthem. And they're like, we have no PvP, and the community erupts. Oh my gosh, it's going to be terrible. They don't have any PvP. I beg to differ. I think it's going to be great because now they can focus solely on one end of the game and not have to focus on two different angles. You know, I think that's a thing that's in a way hurts Destiny 2 is they're focusing so much on one side or the other. So every time they do an update, one side or the other, PvP or PvE, is getting left out of the updates. And I think that can hurt a game in the long run. So with them saying, we're only doing PvE, we're doing this, we're pushing it out, you can play with your buddies, you know, I think it's a great idea, you know. I mean, the suits look awesome. The Javelin suits, you know, you've got a Ranger suit that you start in, and then you eventually have to gather you eventually get all the suits. I forget all of them. You've got an Interceptor suit, you've got a Storm suit, and is it a Juggernaut? That's basically what it is. I forget the name of the bigger suit. Basically, it's your tank build. And they look awesome. They have a great design look to them. I will say, though, the Storm one does take a little bit from the Void Warlock. You know, it's purple, has that kind of that essence to it. But, you know, to me, I looked at it as like, because I played Warlock in Destiny, I was like, oh, look, I finally get to be a Warlock with a cape because it has a cape on the Storm suit that you get from God, I cannot speak tonight. Sorry, guys. In Anthem. So, yeah, I get a little excited and I can't get all my words out. So you'll have to bear with me there, guys. Sorry about that.
So not to jump all over the place here, but I just see a tweet here from this guy named Greg Miller about the Fortnite thing with the crossplay. So you were mentioning this. This is what you're talking about here. So it says, at PlayStation, fix this. Not allowing me to sign into Fortnite Switch with my Epic account because it's linked to PS4 is tone deaf and points more to fear than market dominance. It does the opposite of what you want. It makes me think about moving to Xbox for Fortnite. So, there you go. But anyway, yeah, sorry to jump around. That's what you're talking about.
It's hurting their business. It's going to hurt their business for it too. I mean, now granted,
that's what he's saying.
Well, granted, they had the advantage of it's late in the console cycle for them, you know. But anything could happen, you know, and it could hurt them for the new console cycle. So,
yeah. So okay, jumping back to E3 here. Sometimes my smooth ramblings gets mixed in with my HnK. So anyway, E3 fail for EA is showing a cell phone game. I was trying to think of something to equate it to. Like, there's got to be something to equate it to. I'll think of in a second here. But you're showing a cell phone game to the gaming console gaming. I mean, it's generally what it is. So let's just go ahead and tell it for what it is. Hardcore video game players know about E3, right? Because the ones that show up are definitely hardcore. And then you're going to put a cell phone game, and play it for 20 minutes and have announcers like it's some super exciting thing. And everybody's just kind of like, yeah, that's just something we have to watch until we can finally get to something good. It's like, I mean, I understand we got to reveal it at some point. Why not reveal it again from a business perspective? But I mean, it's kind of one of those things, man. I think you lose points with the hardcore gamers, and that's where your money's coming from. You know, people that play cell phone games don't care about E3. You know, they'll just find it and think it's a good game and play it.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Command and Conquer rivals. And so people that are Command and Conquer fans hate it for a different reason, just because Command and Conquer is such a good game, and it's so complex, and it's a real strategy game. I mean, it is like a chess game. And then you're going to put it on a cell phone where you just touch, to build troops, touch to move, to move here or whatever. And it's, you can look that up pretty much anywhere and hear about it. But that's a foul. Don't show cell phone games, please. That's the dumbest thing. Let's see, what else?
So another game that I play that I love, going back to Final Fantasy a little bit, Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter and Final Fantasy XIV are having a crossover event that was announced at E3. So In Monster Hunter World, you will be able to hunt the behemoth from Final Fantasy, and in Final Fantasy 14, you'll be able to hunt the Rathalos. I really think that's a brilliant idea. I think that's the one thing that's saving what little bit of saving there can be done for Square Enix at E3 was this. I mean, that's about it. That's about the only good thing for them that's happening here. And they're piggybacking on top of one of the biggest games ever for Capcom, Monster Hunter World. So it's a smart move for both companies. You're going to get an awesome monster to hunt. And I'm sorry for everybody out there that's watching this, that's seen the Behemoth trailer. It's Dodogama that's in his mouth. It is not Devil Jeho. It's not Devil Jeho at all. It's too small to be Devil Jeho, and I'm going to make sure I rant that one out because a huge discussion blew up on a couple of my Facebook pages that I help with for Monster Hunter World, and they're like, oh, it's Devil Jeho in his mouth, and no, it's not. It is Dodogama. Watch the video, take slow motion caps of it. It is not Devil Jeho. I don't care what anybody says. People were saying that the publishers were saying it's Devil Jeho. I was like, no, it's not. They wouldn't put a monster that in there that's that much bigger than Devil Jeho because that's one of their best monsters to hunt. Is that punk? I want to call him other names because he can be such a pain. And Hollywood knows what I'm talking about because he's hunted him a few times, and he can just be. He can be the bane of your hunt.
He runs off too fast. That's what
he can. He can. Yeah, he can run off too fast, or he can.
He just got so much HP, I guess.
He is a tank, and so there's no way that Behemoth is that much bigger. I mean, it looks like a Dodogama in his mouth. It has some. You can see some blue hues. Yeah, Behemoth. Yeah.
Is it Behemoth or Bahamut?
Behemoth.
Okay. This whole time I think you're talking about Bahamut.
No, it's Behemoth.
So it's Behemoth. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's Behemoth. So
that'd be cool. That's even cooler. That could have some cool armor and everything. Because they've had enough dragons,
They are talking some good stuff about Behemoth, and I really look forward to fighting him. He's big.
In Final Fantasy 15, he's huge.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to make him a little bit smaller than Xeno, and that way he would be just a little. He just would be just a little bit bigger than Devil Jeho at that point. It would basically be in between a Devil Jeho and Xeno, and that would be the perfect size for Behemoth.
Yeah, I think
because then he would be fun to fight. Because Xeno is not fun to fight. She's too big. It's just too clunky of a fight. It's just not fun. Behemoth has to be one of those monsters that is a fun fight. It's got challenge to it, but it makes you want to keep on fighting it.
Behemoth essentially looks like, for lack of a better, if you don't know what he looks like, it's kind of like a lion, a big lion. So if he moves like that fast, but he's big, dude, that could be fun.
Take the horns. Take the wings off of Teostra. That lion face, drag it out a little more.
Well, they might not know who that is either.
Give him bigger horns and make him just like he looks like he's been on steroids for 4 years, and that's what Behemoth is. He's just a huge, big old hulking thing. I mean, he's just
4 years.
I mean, he's just like swole.
Not 3.
Not
5
3,
years is a little too big.
A little too big. Yeah, 4 years is perfect.
I was kind of on the fence about 4, but I guess at 3 or 4, yeah, I could see that.
There you go. We're throwing in them clearisms again. We'll start spiking those up again. But,
so that's even better. Yeah, Behemoth would be better than Bahamut. For some reason, it's always you probably always said Behemoth.
Behemoth is going to be there. Go watch the trailer. It's a really cool trailer. He looks just slick. I mean, it looks really good. It looks like he's a monster that's supposed to fit in Monster Hunter World. I really love this crossover. And in the same sense, at times I wish I was a Final Fantasy 14 player so I could go fight Rathalos in Final Fantasy 14, because Rathalos has actually become one of my more fun fights. Is to fight Rathalos. She's not a super hard fight, but if you're not careful, she can kill you quick. So it's one of those fun fights with it. So I really hope that it helps some Final Fantasy people say, oh, maybe I need to go jump on Monster Hunter World because this looks like it's a fun game. Let's bring in some more people. And like I said, it's a brilliant idea for them. And like I said, this is the only shining light that Square Enix had through the entire thing, and it took the fact of them to piggyback off of Capcom to do it.
So another game I was real excited about is the Resident Evil 2 remake. and I'm glad. So did they show that? I don't think I've seen it two ways. They showed it, and then I've seen it that they didn't show it and they revealed it later.
I don't remember. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan. I mean, I've played it some. It's just not one that really sucked me in. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a good remake, but...
So let me talk a little bit about this real quick, because Resident Evil 2 is on original PlayStation. It was one of the first It was the first Resident Evil I played, and it was 2 discs. And you could be, Claire and Leon. Mm-hmm. Leon is on the first disc, Claire's on the other. And so you play through Leon's stage is what I did first. You can play either one first, 2 different discs, like I said. But what happens is, like, at some point, they interact with each other throughout the first story or whatever. So there's one time you walk in and you see, a shotgun, or you see a grenade launcher. I can't remember the exact weapon, and there's a thing that you can increase your bag space. Well, you can pick it up there or leave it for Claire. So when we play through the net with Claire, you get that. So that those two alone makes the game very long, but after you complete both of their stories, there's a whole second part for each disc too, and it's even like scarier or more interesting, I thought. And I just thought that was amazing. And so that was my first kind of experience with Resident Evil 2, and then Resident Evil 3 came out. That was 1 disc, but it was just as good. It was so much fun. I think Resident Evil 2 is better personally, but Resident Evil 3 was super good. Of course, Resident Evil 4 kind of reawoken the whole series. It's more of a shooter. It's not a shooter, but it's more action oriented than kind of the horror series elements of Resident Evil 2. And then Capcom says, okay, everybody's complaining, come on, make Resident Evil scary again, make it a survival horror. It's more of an action game now. And they go, okay, you want scary? Bam, there's Resident Evil 7 on VR. That people will not even touch it on VR, and I wouldn't either. It looks very scary, and it's just really... I mean, people, you watch it on YouTube, so people played it in VR. They have to take the headset off every, 10 minutes to... I don't know, it makes them kind of sick, but you can tell they're kind of playing it off to be like, let me get back in the real world for a minute, because I'm kind of getting freaked out.
One of our gamer buddies, Kuiper, has it, and it's...
Did you play it in VR or try it in VR?
No, I'm not doing it. I don't like horror things. That's not my cup of tea. I
mean, they take it.
It's pretty freaky. Like he's played it and he's like, man, dude, I can't. I can't play it very long. So
no, they take it some straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. One scene where you're sitting around the table and all with this weird family, and the old grandmother's and it's like dead practically, just sitting over in the wheelchair, and you're like, is she dead or what are they doing? But anyway, just kind of freaky stuff like that. So anyway, now they're doing Resident Evil 2. And I posted about this, a remake in Resident Evil 2. I posted about this in Facebook, and it was real late when I did it. So it didn't reach a lot of people, and I didn't get the response that I wanted. I generally wanted what people thought about this, because there's a playthrough they have on the link that I posted at Kotaku. And... it doesn't really say it. It says, the title is Seeing the Resident Evil 2 Remake in Action Soothes My Skeptical Heart. Okay, great. And it does look great. It's kind of got the original one had a fixed camera and when you walked around. This one has the over-the-shoulder just like Resident Evil 4. The graphics look great. But during the gameplay, they literally say, this isn't a remake. This is a whole new game. So that was the question I posed on Facebook. What do you think? Should they do a remake of the original, just a new graphics and updated? Obviously, add a few new things in there. That's stuff that they've learned, or do a whole new game just kind of based in a Resident Evil 2 world? It's I don't know if I like that. I mean, I'm going to get the game. I'm sure it's going to be great, but they go back to making it really more horror focus, where you get the flashlight and you just kind of see whatever the flashlight sees, stuff jumps out at you, that whole thing. So they're still keeping to that. They're really listening to their fans and keeping to that horror genre instead of making it more action oriented. But again, the question is, what's better? Do you want the remake or do you want a whole new game?
Exactly.
So nobody answered that on there, and because I don't even know what I would rather want either. Probably more of a remake with some new elements thrown in, but not a whole new game with the Resident Evil 2. don't call it Resident Evil 2. Just call it something else.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a whole new game, don't use the same name over.
So if you go back and watch that link, you'll see what I'm talking about. And there are some familiar places, but they kind of talk about, well, we put it in familiar. There's a few new things, and then the very next breath, this guy's like, well, it's a whole new game. I just want to emphasize it's a whole new game. And you're like, well, what is it?
Call it Resident Evil 2.5 then.
I mean, that would be exactly just that simple.
Resident Evil 2 revisited. Something.
Yeah,
to define it. To define it, it's a different game.
Yeah.
Another game that I thought was pretty good. They didn't really say much about it, but it's from Bethesda, Starfield, and basically people are hoping that it's Elder Scrolls in space. It looks kind of neat. It just has a little trailer. There's no release date for it.
Bethesda. Yeah, I had, and the reason I stopped you because I said the same thing, and I was like, I wanted to correct from last one. I kept saying Bethesda. It's Bethesda, and I knew it was Bethesda, but when I very first saw it ever, I called it just whatever real quick, and it kind of just made it kind of frozen in my brain.
But it looks like it could be a really good game. It's their first big game outside of Elder Scrolls, so that's a big thing. And then they have Fallout as well, correct?
Yeah, Fallout 76.
Yeah, and they had Fallout 76, but this is their first big title big new title outside of those two games. So that's really cool to see that venture out for them.
In space, right?
Yeah,
and so they got a swords and sorcery, they got an apocalypse, and they're gonna have space. And dude, that space one, I mean, I'm super excited about that too. They just put out some great games.
Yeah. Another one. I was just looking at the time.
They actually crushed it, I think.
I think they did. I think they did a great thing. One thing I do want to mention is the disappointment that I have in Gearbox. Why couldn't you show some Borderlands 3 or saying, "Hey, we're working on it"?
It's not even called Borderlands 3.
I don't even think they're working on it.
Well, they're working on a Borderlands-esque game or a game set in the Borderlands universe. They haven't even said it's the next Borderlands or whatever. That's what everybody just wants it to be.
I'm frustrated with them because I want a new Borderlands.
Oh yeah, everybody does. But yeah, I don't do just. But anyway, back to Bethesda real quick. The Fallout 76, if you don't know, 4 times bigger than the map on Fallout 4, which was a huge map. And that's going to be awesome. Elder Scrolls 6 has been announced. And yeah, the new game there, what was it called? Starfield?
Yeah, Starfield.
Man, that's going to be great too. They really did well with their stuff. I mean, they kept all that quiet, and then all of a sudden...
They really did. And I have to give them credit for that. They might actually probably had the best showing out of everybody, in my opinion, just because I like surprises. None of that was even on any of my radar, with the exception of Fallout. Fallout kind of popped on my radar a couple days before. But after that, it was just like these 2 other games, completely left field, and it's like, oh my gosh, another Elder Scrolls, and Elder Scrolls in space, basically. You've got Elder Scrolls in a post-apocalyptic world. You've got Elder Scrolls, medieval times, and then you have Elder Scrolls in space now. That's basically kind of what everybody's calling it, kind of making a joke about it. But it looks like they're always fantastic games. I haven't played a lot of their games, but just from talking to Hollywood and some of my other friends playing it, it's just always a fantastic game to play.
So I wanted to mention this too. So Hideo Kojima he's just, I mean, I don't know the drama going on, but it's like he was with Konami and they made the PT trailer. And that was like a new thing. So PT you could download. Nobody knew what it was as a horror game. They think it was going to be, so it turned out it's going to be like a Silent Hill game. But nobody knew what PT was. And then it turned out PT just means playable trailer, because it was just a trailer that you could play. And it is freaky. It is scary. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, it shows who your character is, and it's Norman Reedus. So everybody's just like, oh, Norman Reedus. I guess I was playing Norman Reedus the whole time. Mm-hmm. So something happened at Konami, and Hideo's like, yep, gets fired or quits or whatever. And he goes and does his own thing now. And so now Death Stranding stays. Yeah. So this title, Death Stranding, stays delightfully weird, because nobody really knows what's going on. Yeah. But hey, we got Norman Reedus back.
Yeah.
So it says that surely at some point Hideo and Norman Reedus will have to release a game, because it's like he's just all these trailers for these games with Norman Reedus and Hideo, but nothing ever comes from it. So, and Death Stranding still kind of in that phase of like, hey Hideo, we don't know what you're doing, but it's probably going to be good, so we'll let you get away with it.
Exactly. I mean, it's just
so
hilarious.
funny. It's just one of those strange things, isms of the gaming community. Like,
I
what's
want
going
to bring that up. It's hilarious because it's like it's one of the games that everybody's looking forward to, but it has no release date. It's got Norman Reedus, or it's got Norman Reedus. Mads Mikkelsen is in it. Even the guy that played Caecilius in Doctor Strange. That'll be a nerd reference for y'all for Mads Mikkelsen. He's also played in some other things. I think he was in the TV show Hannibal, if I'm not mistaken. So great actor, and so it's just like crazy. You've got these two really amazing actors in this game that you have no idea what it is. It's outer space, or is it on Earth, or is it what is this game? It's just
Hideo Kojima. Hideo is like the Prince in the music business. It's just kind of weird, but everybody just kind of likes him and just kind of accepts it. It's Prince. He did that. It makes sense because it was Prince.
He's going to have another cutscene that's over an hour long in Death Stranding. I predict that now. It just makes sense for him. He's going to have it. He's like, I'm going to do it. He's like, I haven't done a long one in Metal Gear Solid for a while, so I'm going to do one here in Death Stranding. This is my way I can do it again.
He probably didn't even have the game any idea what it's going to be or gameplay. Just likes making these scenes, because then you figure out a game around it.
I'll put Norman in space and see how that goes. All right, not too bad reception. Now he's back on Earth.
That's just funny.
So, another one I want to bring up too that a lot of people are excited about, and I'm kind of excited about too, is the Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
It looks interesting, It looks like it could actually be...
It does look interesting.
It looks like it could be finally a good Spider-Man game. I remember playing some of the Spider-Man games back in the day. They were always clunky. Of course, you can shoot your web basically in the sky and you can go or wherever. But this one actually looks like you got to be around a building or whatnot, and it looks like it's pretty well done. So I'm kind of excited to see how that one goes.
Yeah, it does look cool. I'm trying to just think about what I have not ever been. People go crazy about these Spider-Man games, and I mean, I guess I'm the same way about the Batman Arkham Knights and all this. And I played Arkham Asylum demo, and I loved it. And then I bought Arkham City and played it, and for a long time. And some of the game came out, and I just jumped to something else. So that's the reason I bring that up, is that's kind of what this Spider-Man is going to be like. I think it's kind of the same fighting mechanic. It's free roam. Mm-hmm. Go find the bad guys and save them. And, I don't know. I'm just not it's like Superman to me. Superman, nobody's really that big of a fan of Superman anymore, but, Spider-Man's cool. And the new Spider-Man, within the Infinity Wars and all this is awesome. The guy that plays him, and he was in Civil War 2, that's a great Spider-Man. What is his name?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, that's a great
fantastic
Spider-Man.
I
like that Spider-Man.
They finally found somebody that can do it right. He's got the wisecracking that doesn't feel like it's so forced. Because with Tobey Maguire, whenever he did it, it felt so forced. When you looked at his face, it's like, you're faking it, dude. Just stop. And then you had Andrew Garfield. I'm sorry, he was just
he's from The Social Network.
Bleh, that's all I can say.
That's the guy from The Social Network.
I'm just gonna beat myself on that one. You can't. I'm not an Andrew Garfield fan, and every time I hear Andrew Garfield, I think of Garfield the cat. I don't think of Andrew Garfield. I'll automatically go to Garfield the cat and think of lasagna and Opie and Odie and all that. So.
He's a good character. He's got charisma. Not the Spider-Man guy. I mean, I didn't watch him as Spider-Man, but I liked him in Social Network. He does got charisma. He's a good actor, and so Spider-Man probably was not a fit for him.
He was not a good Spider-Man,
but he's going to be all right.
Yeah, he's going to be all right. I mean, heck, he dated Emma Stone for a while.
Oh man, we could talk about a whole nother podcast. Let's see. There's something I'm reading here. Let's see.
My computer decided to go wacky on me and not let me read my article. Ghost of Tsushima is what I looked at, and I thought was pretty cool. So I'm big into medieval stuff, medieval reenactments and things like that. And this is the samurai version of medieval, of doing the Middle Ages in England, that area. So it looks like it'll be a really fun game. You get to be a samurai in it. I don't know a whole lot about it. I didn't pay much attention to it because I was really sad in Sony's presser. They basically started off with The Last of Us Part 2 with the two girls kissing, and I'm like, why? Why do you have to do that? I don't care if they kiss, fine, whatever, great, they kiss. Why do you have to use that as your oh, let's start E3 for us. Let's have the two girls kiss. I'm like, you're using some gimmick to try to get some flair for hiding what you don't have behind there. Because
that's the sad part.
Microsoft,
just to get people talking about the game instead of the game itself.
Exactly. It's just it's like, oh my gosh. You've got Ghost of Tsushima that looks great. You got the Resident Evil 2 remake that looks good. Death Stranding. You've got Spider-Man. You've got all of, I don't know if I'm saying this right, Noah 2, Nioh 2. It's a popular game and a lot of people that play it.
Oh yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3. You got some pieces that are you're announcing there. Adding new stuff to God of War. Destiny 2 was attached into some of this too. Their Forsaken stuff was attached into. You had a lot of stuff there, and then you used The Last of Us 2, two girls kissing as your opening, and it's just like, come on, Sony. You just lost me there just doing that. That was ridiculous. So
yeah. So they're saying most of these games are not even going to come out until 2019.
A lot of them are going to hit 19, early 19, maybe even mid 19. Some of them. So
yeah, that's what kind of sucks. But
But we're halfway through 18 already.
Yeah, I know. Time's gone by so quickly.
But it's going to help me out because now I have time to play Red Dead 2. I have time to play some of these games. I have time to play some of these games hitting. Spider-Man's hitting in September. I'm going to have time to play these games. I think it's actually a good thing that some of these games at this E3 are going to hit in 19.
It is.
Right before Christmas is December, 8th, 9th? I can't remember the date exactly, is when Super Smash Bros. Drops. I hate that they're waiting that late to drop it. I wish it was a little bit earlier because I can't wait to get my hands on it. And then you got the Pokemon Go, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee dropping a month or so before that. You've got a lot coming out in the rest of the year. And to add games from E3 would just make it, would probably cluster it up so much that things would get lost in the mix. I think it's a good idea they're waiting.
Oh, yeah, of course. They're trying to get you hype about it. You got plenty. They're not going to bring up Red Dead Redemption 2, where everybody knows, and that some people complained about that. Oh, why didn't they talk about that? Everybody's already hyped for it. It's out. It's already been talked about.
Once you already show a major trailer for a game, you really can't do much more hyping for it at E3. You can talk about it and everything, but you start revealing too much of the game at that point.
So yeah, that's going to be a good one. Octopath Traveler, I'm going to get that. I don't think that's in July, but I got to get the Switch, and I'm going to try to. Mario Odyssey, play that one, and then go buy another one. I'm not going to buy 6 games or whatever the first right when I get it because of that very reason.
Don't go buy the Mega Man collection then. You got a whole bunch. You got a whole bunch of games there, and it's like when I tried to play it, it's like, which one do I start with? And I just
So all right. Well, anything else about E3?
There's really not much more about E3 that I can share. It was overall it was a decent E3. I'm not gonna say it was a great one because I'm a hardware fanatic. I want to see hardware. Yeah, they did talk a little bit more about the Republic of Gamers gaming phone, but it's just a gaming phone on it's got Android. It's not going to be anything special. So,
cell phone games, second to cell phone games.
So you got that. You do have Fortnite and PUBG on cell phone now. So
yeah, it's terrible. So, but yeah, I'm with you, man. It was okay. I like the Cyberpunk 2077, like I mentioned. A handful of them. Fallout, anything Bethesda did, I'm cool with. I was really excited about those. I'm actually excited about Smash Bros, which That takes a back seat to the other ones I mentioned, if I'm being honest. But if I'm going to get a Switch, I'm going to try it. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. You tried Destiny 2. If you tried Destiny 2, you got to try Smash Brothers, because I promise you you'll enjoy it more than Destiny 2.
Don't even say those two in the same sentence. That's an insult to our podcast. That is not even a comparison. Yeah, I played Candy Crush, so you should be able to like Smash Bros. That's about the same comparison. But yeah, I mean, it was overall good, I guess. I mean, there's nothing just super crazy. If you had Final Fantasy VII and Borderlands 3, we would have been a little bit more excited. But
if you would have
Cyberpunk,
had,
Bethesda saved it to me. Bethesda saved it.
Definitely, but Bethesda has had probably, in my opinion as well, probably had the best showing. Like Hollywood was saying, with no Borderlands announcement, not even a teaser showing the Hyperion base or anything, just no teaser whatsoever. It's just kind of like, come on now, so they kind of fell there. And then too, with the way that Sony did it, falling flat, and with Square Enix falling flat, I blame both of them for not showing anything of Final Fantasy VII. So
yep, and so Cyberpunk 2077, I don't want to leave that out. That's one of my favorites. That also saved it. So there's Bethesda and Cyberpunk 2077 saved it, along with Smash Bros coming in a distant third, which that's my opinion on this whole thing. Smash Bros saved it for everybody, I'm sure. A lot of people like Smash Bros.
So you say your opinion's terrible on that. Smash Bros is number 1 on that, man. Smash Bros was awesome. It just they did it right. Had a great trailer for it. I loved the way that they presented it. It's gonna be a fun game. I look forward to playing it and hopefully being able to play with some of you guys online with it. It's gonna be really great. And if I can figure out how to mobily capture some of my gameplay on that, I'll capture gameplay and send that in. And that's something that we need to do for y'all as well, is do some gameplays.
All right, cool. So some news real quick. So the contest that we did, we always drop contests here if you've been listening at all. We gave away free games. We gave away a Super NES Mini. I believe our next one is going to be an NES Mini as soon as this thing comes out sometime this month. So this contest was, what Sega Genesis game do I own, HolliwoodKole, the only one that I own? And so we did this one for a reason. The reason was to try to reward people that have been listening to us for a long time. We'd hope that they would know the answer right off the bat, and so we kind of dragged this out for 2 or 3, 4, 5, maybe even 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
We didn't mention it every one, and I guess you can't really count the smooth ramblings because it's a whole different thing. But, after kind of thinking about it, who wants to go back and listen to an old podcast you've already listened to try to find an answer, especially when it's random? So I got on Instagram. If you're following me on Instagram, you would have seen I posted a video that just says, hey, we're doing a contest. I figured I'd give you guys a hint. Here it is. And just push the game up there. So follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and you'll probably get some hints there. But anyway, this thing has been answered now, and it's because of Instagram first. So they found Instagram. Matthew out of Mississippi
found it on Instagram and then went back, and he was this dedicated because he felt like winning it that way was wrong. He went back and listened to every podcast until he found the one it was mentioned in.
Yeah, so he posted, it was on the Retro Review Part 1. That is the 3rd podcast we ever did. I'm with you, though. I know I mentioned it more than in one podcast. I thought it was a lot more recent, but, I mean, it does feel like it's recent anyway. And it's not, I guess it's still less than a year ago. But that's the one it was on, Retro Review Part 1, and it's at 17:30. So 17 minutes, 30 seconds in, that's where it's there. But, he went ahead and listened to all of them. He didn't have to. He could have just said, hey, it's on Instagram. And I did say, hey, where was it? When he first said, hey, your game you own is Shadowrun. That was the one, Shadowrun on Sega Genesis. And he says, and I said, well, I said, cool, that's correct. Which podcast was it in? And he says, well, I haven't checked it yet. I said, well, how'd you figure it out? I said, well, I followed you on the gram. So, cool. And I went back and looked. Yep, follow me on the gram, saw it, and that's perfectly fine. That's all he had to do. He just went back and did the extra credit. So the game he's getting, he's a truck driver, really likes the podcast and has been listening ever since. He kind of a newer listener. He just happened to kind of jump in. And Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition's coming your way. It's perfect for the road since you don't have internet. I've just started playing it. I love the game.
Me too.
And, so congratulations on that. Take a picture with it. Send it to us so we can put you up on our Facebook. And I'll put you on Instagram as well. And so just tell everybody where you got it, man. And that's what we're going to keep doing, this kind of stuff.
We are.
What else you got, man? Anything else? Or you want to wrap this thing down?
Man, I think that's it for us. I mean, we covered a lot here on E3,
So stay tuned, guys. We got a lot on the horizon. I'm going to do a couple of smooth ramblings, one with the video game designer, author. That's going to be probably our next one. We're going to try to lay that down maybe Thursday or next weekend, or this weekend, I mean. So within the next couple of days. Today is Monday. We're laying this thing down. It'll probably be out Tuesday or Wednesday. We also have, I'm going to have Revelation 6:17 coming back on to talk one-on-one with about some Black Ops, just some old school Black Ops, Call of Duty. And then, of course, me and Kleer will be back with some old school retro games, the thing that founded this thing. Get you guys back into these gamings. We've done a lot on E3 news, Ready Player One, stuff like that. We want to take it back to get these old retro games in there. I believe we're going to do Super Metroid is what we're kind of thinking.
So we decided we both have Super NES Minis, so we can sit down and play it the way it's designed to play. So we're going to do that too. And just a heads up for you other listeners out there, my 2 fireside chats that I plan to lay down is one, I told you I was going to do my review on the DLC from Destiny 2, Warmind, how I felt about it. And then also too, I'm going to lay down one about the new coming out of Destiny, Forsaken. Talk about that. They've got quite a few things. I was trying to wait until E3 panned out, and they dropped the news on it. A lot of controversial things on that Forsaken that I definitely want to cover. And we're going to talk about that in the fireside chat and just keep it there. I'm going to try to keep Hollywood isolated from Destiny. That way he doesn't get too fired up about it.
I'm liable to just walk out of that podcast. So cool. All right. Well, follow us, guys, on Facebook, Instagram, Hollywood Cole, HolliwoodKole for Hollywood Cole, and Kleerfyre, Kleerfyre, Kleerfyre. Also, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/HnKEXP. Leave us a review. Hit us up on Podbean. Many ways to listen. And we thank you all for joining us. Glad you could be here.
Don't forget, you can listen to us on Spotify and now to CastBox. If you've ever heard CastBox, you can check us out there as well.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. Take it easy.